Okay, so I hope uh, this semester break was helpful for you. It was definitely helpful for me because I had to go through a lot of questions. I mean, not a lot of questions, but a lot of answers corresponding to a few questions in the midsem. I finally managed to complete that. So if there are any suggestions on any of the questions and the corresponding answers, please feel free to write to me. All right. So we were in still synchronization, big topic. We looked at several aspects like different ways of synchronizing using data in control flow, then atomics, then barriers. And then we started making use of them and did some sort of reduction for which we said that associativity property is required. And then a natural extension of reduction where you are not interested in one value, but you are interested in n values across all the n threads. Can that be done in a similar hierarchical computation, which led to the prefix sum computation? And that's what we were looking at. And our goal was that given a set of input numbers, I want to get a certain output, which is going to be the sum of the prefix at every I in the array. There are two modes, inclusive and exclusive scan, where inclusive um, uh, starts with the first number, which is from the input, which essentially gets copied to the output, whereas the exclusive scan starts with 0, and then it essentially the output is going to get shifted by 1, and the last element will not be part of the output compared to the inclusive scan. Right? So for example, 36 here will not be part of the output, but all the other numbers are part of the output. Right? And we tried to write a prefix sum code, and you told certain ways, and I also showed one way, which is what is being shown here. So let's come back to this. So what is the issue with this code?
Sir, race condition is there.
Okay, there is a race condition. Is there a race condition? I think there is no race condition here because we are starting with n by 2 threads, and then the thread which is accessing a of thread idx.x is writing to that location as well as reading, which is okay. And as far as thread idx.x plus off is concerned, that is going to be always outside the thread ID, which is going to access it. And therefore, I believe that there is no race condition.
Yes, sir, sorry, I missed.
Yeah. What is the issue with this code? Okay, you guys have forgotten a lot of things, looks like. Okay, so this code that I'm showing is not a prefix sum code. This is a reduction code that we are looking at. This is how we have written reduction. And definitely reduction is different from prefix sum. And therefore, this code cannot give us the same output as we expect, which is shown at the bottom. So this is reduction. This is not prefix sum. Okay, we need to do something different, right? And so I'm going to write a second version, which is going to be probably an improvement on this one. So what I'm going to do is that I have to compute it for all the n threads, and therefore I'm going to start with n, not n by 2. Right? I cannot be affording to write only a single element, so I'm going to start it with n, and rest of the code remains the same. Right? What is the issue with this code? First of all, does it give you the same output as the prefix sum?
Sir, one doubt, isn't it going out of bounds? Offset is still n, right?
Yes. So this, I mean, I'm trying to fix it without understanding what this code is doing. I'm just trying different things, right? So when we are at the end of just 1 hour before the deadline of assignment submission, right? And I want to get things working, and therefore I'm just trying different things, right? So that is what is happening here. Okay, maybe if this works, or maybe this gives touches or satisfies more number of test cases, right? So that's how I am going ahead with this. This is definitely not prefix sum. This is not even proper reduction, right? By changing n by 2 to n, I'm going to probably create more problems in the sense that, as Venkat suggested, this is going to go out of bounds when I do thread id x.x plus off, because thread id x.x can take the value of n minus 1, and offset itself could be n minus 1. So definitely you are going to go beyond the value. Okay, so this is definitely not prefix sum code. Okay, so I'm going to try something better. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this as it is, right, as it was before for reduction. This condition also remains the same. What I need to do is that I should not be going beyond the last element. So what I'm doing is that I'm copying the value from my current thread ID as well as n minus the whatever is the current offset that I'm trying with. So offset plays both the roles here, both in reduction as well as current version of prefix sum, where offset also tells with which element I should be applying the transformation, in this case plus, as well as it also guards the number of threads which are operating on this array. So that if condition takes care of guarding, whereas off is used inside this expression for accessing a particular element. This seems a little better, but there is some issue with this. Any suggestions? Yeah, maybe I will request somebody other than Venkat to. Please. I just want to make sure that you guys are with me, even after maybe 7 days or 10 days. ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. All right, so this also doesn't serve the purpose. So let's understand why that is happening. So sorry. Okay, so let's understand that. So we have this for n by 2, the value of offset. This value ranges from whatever n by 2 all the way up to n, right? So or n minus 1. So that is very good, which means that I am accessing whatever is my current thread ID plus some value which is going to be from, let's say, 1 to n by 2. That does mean that I am always within bounds, right? But is this what I wanted to do, right? So if you try to run this code, you'll realize that this, although is something better than reduction, this is not really giving you the exact values, right? So I have not shown you the values. All these programs have been tried, but this does not give you the sum of all the previous elements that I want to compute as part of the prefix sum. Okay, so let me try one more thing. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to start with not offset being from n by 2 to 1. I'm going to go in the reverse direction, and I'm going to start from 0 to let's say n by 2. Right? So and accordingly the offset is going to change, which is going to, instead of n minus off, I'm going to just do minus of off. Does that serve our purpose? Any suggestions on this one? Sorry, Aditya?
This won't work also.
Why is that?
If off is 0, we are adding the same element again. Office 0 a thread ID x dot x plus equal to, we are adding again a thread ID dot x. And I'm
Right.
adding the previous one.
Correct. So as Aditya said, if off is 0, that means that I'm doing a of thread x twice of that, which is not really happening anywhere in the prefix sum. That is one issue. There is another more serious issue in this. What is that?
Race condition.
Race condition is happening. Is the race condition happening? I'm writing to, yes, so that is possible, right? So the race condition can happen because there may be one thread which is writing to this location and another thread which is reading from this location. So that is correct. So there is a race condition happening. Any other suggestions? Infinite loop as off is always 0. Yeah, as Amlan said, this off is 0. I mean, the starting point is 0. So next time off star equal to 2. So that is again going to remain 0. So that is not going to serve our purpose. We need to initialize it in a different way. Essentially, it should be off equal to 1 as the initialization. So that is another problem. So there are multiple problems with these versions. And let's step back and understand what exactly we want to do. I mean, I know that there is input and there is output. And I know that sequential processing can work here, but how to do it hierarchically in parallel, that is what we would like to understand, right? So let me go back to our, let's say, pictorial representation, right? So I have this input array, right? And what I want to do in, let's say, next step is that so in the final step is that I want the sum of, right? So please consider this as sigma. So sum of x0 to x0, and then I want x0 to x1, and then x0 to x2, and so on. Finally, x0 to x7 as the final sum of all these elements. This is the output that I want, right? If I look at any intermediate stage, let's say the first stage, one of the ways in which I can do this is that I take first element, and I know that that is the exact element that I want, assuming that I'm talking about inclusive scan. So that is in place. When I look at the second element, I can get the same, the expected output using x0 and x1. So these first two elements I can get very nicely in one step. So that part is all right, right? When I look at x2, one of the ways, I mean, what I want is x0, x1, x2's sum. I cannot get that in the first stage because I don't want to do x0 plus x1 plus x2. That is first of all the case, because otherwise for xn or xn minus 1, I'm going to do all these sums together. I want to parallelize it. So I cannot do x0 plus x1 plus x2. But what I can do is everybody with me so far? Any issues?
I think we can't hear you. Past 1 minute.
Okay, so yeah, looks like I have lost some connection for some time. Yeah, it's okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the presentation is not visible?
No, sir, it's not.
Okay, thanks. Let me reshare. Sorry, I lost connection for some time. That happens when multiple people in the house have classes and meetings at the same time. All right, so I hope it is visible now. So let me step back. So for x0 and x1, I can derive the output in one step. Right? But when I look at x2, I cannot do x0 plus x1 plus x2, right? Because for xn minus 1, I'll have to do n minus 1 sums. So what I'm going to do is to take advantage of at least whatever is available. I can just sum it up, right? I just want to do one sum. So I have two options. With x2, I can sum either x1 or x0, right? In this step, in one step. So let's say that I decide to do x1. If I have computed this, that means I have x1 plus x2 already computed at the place of where x0, x1, x2 should be there. Right? So this is my first step. And if I kind of think about it this way, for x3, I can actually have x2 plus x3 computed and so on. For xn minus 1, I will have xn minus 2 plus xn minus 1 computed. What do I do at the next level, right? At the next step. If I have x1 plus x2 computed at this stage here, and I want x0 added to it, I can have x0 added using this at this location in the next iteration, because x0 is still visible. What is x0? x0 is actually the sum of x0 to x0. So that is available in the next step. It was also available previously, but I didn't want to do two sums in one step for the same memory location, for the same array element. Right? So I'm going to postpone that to the next. I could have done x0 plus x2 here and then added x1 to this location. That is also okay, but your calculations are going to be easier with respect to the offset if you follow a uniform strategy. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just sum up with the previous element in one step, which is x1 plus x2, and then sum up with whatever was two elements away. Right? This was one element away, and then I'm going to do two element away computation in the second step. And in the third step, I'll do 4 element away and so on. Right? So if I try to follow such a mechanism, then I get is this computation. Let's look at one of these, right? Although it looks a little complicated, but you can see that there is a nice pattern. This is one step back, this is 2 steps back, and this is 4 steps back, and so on. So let's say if I look at, let's say, x4 to x5, if I look at the output, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I want x of 5 to be the sum of x0 to x5. In the first step, I'm going to sum up only the previous element. So I have x4 plus x5 computed. In the second step, I am going to compute with this particular element, which already has computed x2 plus x3. Right? I should not be looking at this part because it has x4 already added. And so if I look at x2 plus x3 and now I have x4 plus x5, that sum is going to give me x2 to x5 in the second step. So I have 4 elements computed, 4 element sum computed as part of the second step. In the third step, I'm going to go beyond, which is x2 to x5, and I'm going to go 4 steps or 4 elements back, which is going to be this value. And therefore, I'm going to get x0 to x5, all the elements computed for this particular location. Okay. Any questions on this? I'll leave the slide here for a moment. I would suggest that you try to look at, let's say, x6, x7 and how the computation is happening for x0 to x7. And that will probably give you some idea. But if there are any questions, please feel free to ask.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, in this case, won't it be beneficial to add x0 in the first step to all the elements rather than adding the previous one? Because if we are assuming that we're doing an in situ update on the array, then this might lead to some race condition kind of issue.
Perfect. So okay, so this particular mechanism that I have shown visually this has a race condition, and we would like to address that in our next versions. As Venkat has pointed out, you are going to write to a memory location, for example, x5 to x6. This I am writing to, but for that I am also going to read x5. Okay, and as soon as I am reading x5, that thread which is operating on x5 is also writing x4 plus x5 here. And assuming that these two arrays are the same, right, that is what we started with, then there is going to be a race condition corresponding to this. So the thread which is writing to x4, x5 is writing to that memory location, and the thread which is operating on x6 is going to read from that location. Right? And therefore, there is a race condition with respect to two threads, in fact, multiple threads. And therefore, we'll have to guard against this condition. And I'm going to leave it for as an exercise for you, what Venkat is suggesting, that is there a way you can avoid this data race? Right? So can you perform prefix sum such that you don't get into this data race at all? So, but you cannot arbitrarily add elements. For example, in the first step, is it, I mean, whether I should be the one who should be reading the element, or I should be the one who should be writing the element, right? In the sense, am I the thread which is reading somebody else's value and that thread is also writing, or whether I should be reading, whether I should be writing the element and also reading the element, right? So this part you will have to modify, very similar to in some sense reduction that we did in the earlier versions also of reduction. There was a data race which we somehow took care of. Here also, is there a possibility that you can avoid that data race? But anyway, I'll come to that in a moment. But I hope you have understood how to compute this. Essentially, the step size, which is our off variable, that is increasing from 1 to 2 to 4 and so on. So that part seems to be okay. Each thread is reading from some element which is off, let's say, prior to that particular thread ID. And we will have to guard against the data races, right? So this is going to be our prefix sum idea. One thing to note here is that although for x7, we need to compute all the way from x0 to x7, we are taking advantage of this hierarchical computation, and therefore, although it looks like I need n minus 1 sums to be computed for the last element, because of this hierarchical computation, 1, 2, 4, 8, and so on, I am going to be done with that sum in log n steps. Right? So I hope that is clear to us. Any questions so far? All right. Let's try to code this up. So that off is definitely going to go from 1 to n by 2. Right? So that less than will take care of that. And then I'm going to do a of thread id x dot x plus equal to a of thread id x dot x minus off. Right. So this was our kind of last code, except that off was equal to 0. Yeah. Apart from Venkat, does anybody see any issues with this code? So this seems to be exactly the same as we have discussed on the previous slide pictorially. And if you notice, okay, I'll just go back to that picture. The number of computations, the number of sums that we are doing, that is not n by 2 in the first step. Right? That is actually n minus 1. So we are doing these n minus 1 sums, x0 to x1. The second one is not x2 to x3, it is x1 to x2. Right? So if you look at all these elements, all the threads are computing sum except for the first one with the previous element. And therefore, we have n minus 1 sums getting computed, just that these are happening in parallel. So it's not n by 2, and then it reduces to n by 4 and so on. This is actually n minus 1. That reduces to half because of the offset of 2. So that also needs to be captured, and therefore the thread ID to offset relationship is that I start with 1 and then the thread ID should be more than that of, or greater than equal to greater than of. Should that be greater than or greater than equal to? Thread ID x is in the first step. It should be because I'm doing thread ID x dot x minus of. Otherwise, I would have to do plus 1 to it. So this condition should suffice. So I was asking, what is the issue with this code? Okay, so the issue is that we still have a race condition. We are doing n log n additions. N log n additions, yes, we are doing n log n additions. So that is correct. So we are going from order n additions to order n by 2, n by 4, and so on. We are actually doing n log n additions across the, well, will it be n log n? No, it won't be n log n. Although there are log n. Yeah, it will be 2n, I think, maximum 2n, because we have n by n minus 1, then n minus 1 by 2. So yeah, so that is going to sum up to 2n minus 1. So we'll have 2n sums being computed. The issue is that there is a data race here. In the previous picture itself, there is a data race, right? We said that when x6 is writing to this, it is reading the value x5. That means it is reading the location this one. Right? And at the same time, the thread which is operating on x5 is writing to that location as the sum of x4 and x5. And so there is a data race in this picture itself, and that's what we have coded. And therefore there should be a data race here also. So that is definitely going to be an issue which we will have to worry about. So what I'm going to do is to modify this such that I need to separate out the reading and writing. This is something which we have discussed earlier, but anyway, I'll just show you that we need to add sync threads, assuming that all of this is being done inside a thread block. So I'm going to rewrite it. The rest of the code remains the same, except that I am now reading first, then there is a barrier, and then I'm writing to the memory location, which is going to make sure that, note that this, this sync threads was always there, right? So after every step we required that barrier. So that sync thread is going to continue, but there is one sync threads which I have added, which is going to separate the reading and writing, and that will make sure that there is no data race. Is this okay? Any suggestions on this one?
Sir, here we should close the if statement, then put the sync threads, and then again write an if statement, right?
So what Suresh is suggesting is that this sync threads has gone inside the if condition. That is not something which we really want, right? So we would like to separate that out, and that becomes the code like this, where the condition gets repeated here, and then we have sync threads here and sync threads here, right? So this is going to make sure that it actually computes what we started with, in the sense that this code is going to actually compute prefixing, right? So after a lot of halla gulla, we tried to identify what the issues are, and we finally fix them. So this code works. This is not the most efficient code, right? Because I have two sync threads. Although sync threads cost is really, really very small, and assuming that you are doing it inside the thread block, it's still going to be okay. But is there a way I can avoid two sync threads? That is going to be one question which I'm going to leave for you. You should definitely think about this question. It's an interesting question. Sai Chaitanya is asking, in the second step, we are doing n minus 2 additions and not n by 2. Oh, is it? Let's see. Are we doing? Because of is equal to 2. Yeah, you are right. You are right. So first n minus 1, then n minus 2, then n minus 4, and then n minus 8. You are right. It's not n by 2. Yeah, you are right. N minus 1 plus n minus 2. Yeah. And then, yeah, that is correct. And all the way up to 1. So that sums to, what is the, it should sum to, it should be bounded by n log n. Is there a better closed form of that?
Sir, in the last step, we are doing n by 2 additions.
In the last step, we are, oh, right. In the last step, we are doing n by 2 additions. You are right. Because the off is n by 2 and thread ID x greater than equal to off. Yeah, you are right. So that's correct. Sure, that is correct. And therefore, yeah, definitely order n log n is an upper bound. Is there any better bound than that? Yeah, Rigved has written n minus 2 to the power I, where I is the loop counter. That seems to be correct. But does it have any better bound than n log n?
Sir, it will be n log n minus
I
n.
don't know. Yeah, it could be n log n minus n, but since n log n kind of dominates, I'm just trying to ask if the bound can be anything better than n log n. Right? Is there a bound which is constant times n? That is what I was thinking about. But at least I don't know if this can be done in any better way. So then Arihan's question is correct, that it is going to be bounded by n log n additions. That is correct. Okay, let's compare this, since this point has been brought out. Let's compare this with what happens in the sequential setting. When I'm doing a sequential scan, right, this is called as the prefix sum is called as a scan. When I'm doing this sequential scan, I'm just doing one pass over the array, and I'm holding the cumulative sum. And therefore, the number of additions is actually, let's say, work efficient, in the sense that I'm just doing n minus 1 additions of these n numbers for the last, and at every stage I am writing to the memory location, which means that the code that we have is not work efficient. So when we say that a particular parallel processing is work efficient, what that means is that it matches the efficiency of the best sequential algorithm. In this case, the prefix sum is not work efficient because it is doing something more than what a sequential processing would do. So yeah, that's a very important point. It's just that in practice, this is going to still be helpful, because doing it sequentially is going to create a bottleneck. Doing it in parallel is going to give you better execution time, but at the cost of some work efficiency.
Sir?
Good. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so basically we have more number of computations, but we have n threads simultaneously doing it. So overall complexity will still be log n, right?
Yes, so that n log n is the overall amount of work that we are doing. If you assume that each thread, yeah, so we should probably say.
Sir, I mean to say that we can't straight away compare complexities with the number of additions or subtractions in the case of parallel execution, right? Because
no, so
multiple threads are doing it simultaneously. So
yeah,
like in the sequential case, we find out the number of operations and say that is the time complexity of the program, but it won't be straightforward in the case of a parallel program.
that's right. So what Venkat is pointing to is that there are two complexities which come into play when we are dealing with programs. One is the sequential time complexity that we usually talk about in the context of algorithms. The second one is called as parallel time complexity, which is the amount of total work done divided by, or rather the maximum amount of work done by any thread. Let me put it that way. Right? So in this case, since there are log n steps, we know that each thread maximum is going to, which is going to be the last thread, is going to do maximum n by 2 computations because it is going to do only one computation per step. And therefore, the parallel time complexity turns out to be still n by 2. And that can also be checked because we said that there are n log n additions, and there are n threads, and therefore n log n divided by n is going to give you roughly log n. But that is not always the case. What you should be concerned about is what is the maximum amount of work that any thread does. Right? So it's not amortized over because there might be one thread which might be very slow, which might be doing large number of computations, let's say order n computations. In that case, even if the total amount of work done is n log n, we cannot divide it by n because that single thread will become a bottleneck. So however, the work efficiency part does come into play, because what that indicates, although it is in some sense appropriate not to compare the work efficiencies, we should definitely talk about the parallel time complexity, but we should also talk about work efficiency because it indicates whether you can do better. Assuming that the sequential sequential algorithm is optimal, which is going to be the case in this scan, can you do better than the current prefixum that we have seen? And there seems to be some gap. So the work efficiency tells us if you should be spending time in improving your algorithm. And from that perspective, work efficiency is very important. Right? Any other suggestions here? Okay. So even for parallel algorithms, okay, let me put it this way. Even for parallel algorithms, we would like the work efficiency to be optimal. However, in practice, work efficiency is given lower priority compared to the amount of parallelism that you can get, especially on the GPU, because typically it scales better, first of all. The second one is typically the execution time is lower. To give you an example, maybe I have given it earlier, but for graph algorithms, let's say I'm going to compute shortest paths. One of the work efficient mechanisms is Dijkstra's algorithm in the sequential setting, which uses, let's say, some sort of a heap. It could be binary heap, binomial heap, Fibonacci heap, etc. And depending upon that, the time complexity varies. This is supposed to be work efficient because you are always taking out from the heap the vertex with the minimum distance. When you try to implement it on the GPU or in parallel setting, it turns out that that heap becomes a bottleneck because you are always taking out something which is having the lowest value, lowest distance. And therefore you have only one thing to process. Yes, there is some relaxation that you can do after you have taken it out, but that relaxation takes lower time than managing this heap, and therefore that becomes a bottleneck. So if you try to implement a work efficient Dijkstra's algorithm in parallel, it doesn't scale with the number of threads. So another mechanism that we have studied, which we talk about more in the context of negative weight edges, is the Bellman-Fudge algorithm, where you relax all the edges in all the iterations, right? And that seems to be taking care of negative weight edges, but this is not work efficient because you might require, in the worst case, E into V number of amount of work that gets done, because there are, the path length could be V minus 1, and you are relaxing E edges in every iteration. So that requires order of E cross V number of amount of work to be done. So this is much larger compared to, let's say, E log V in the context of Dijkstra's algorithm. So it is not work efficient. But in parallel setting, it turns out that Bellman-Fudge has better execution time, that is better parallel time complexity, because you are operating on n edges in parallel all the time. So it gets simplified. Your algorithm gets simplified. There is enough work to be done for each thread. It also depends upon the graph type, but by and large, Bellman-Fudge does give a better execution time compared to running Dijkstra. Right? So a work inefficient algorithm similar to our prefixum is going to give you better execution time compared to a work efficient sequential algorithm. Right? So that is something which does come up in the parallel setting in practice. So we should be aware of both of these, parallel time complexity as well as work efficiency. All right, so let's go ahead. why are we doing all of this prefix sum? Not because it has resemblance with reduction, but as we discussed, it can be very useful in some cases. For example, if you want to insert multiple elements into the work list, each thread is going to insert different number of elements. When they were inserting same number of elements, it was easy. ID into K is the starting point. I'm just going to add K elements to it. But if now the number of elements of a TID is going to be different, which is decided by, let's say I'm storing it somewhere, then one way of doing this is using this prefix sum. What I'm going to do is do an inclusive or exclusive prefix sum. What will help in this case if I want to insert elements into the work list?
Sir, I didn't get the question. Can you repeat it once?
Yeah, so different threads want to insert its elements into the work list, right? One of the ways in which we did that is that you just do atomic increment, go on inserting different elements, right? So the elements of the same thread might get inserted at arbitrary locations depending upon when you get that atomic increment chance. Another way is that I do an atomic add, right, for the number of elements that I have, and that will give me a chunk, and then I go on inserting these elements in parallel. Another way of doing this is that I can do a prefix sum. If I do a prefix sum, I'll know where I should start inserting elements or where I should end inserting elements, whichever way. My question is whether we should be using inclusive scan or exclusive scan. That is inclusive prefix sum or exclusive prefix sum.
Sir, in this case, exclusive would give the starting ID, right?
Right. Right. As Krishna Vamsi is also saying. So exclusive prefix sum or exclusive scan is going to give me the starting point, which is, we said, is starting from 0, right? So that is where first thread is going to add. So that is going to be helpful, but that doesn't mean that we cannot use inclusive prefix sum. You can still use inclusive prefix sum, just that you are going to get the starting ID of the next element, which is going to be the 1 plus the last element that you would be inserting. From there, you can always compute whatever is required for you as the starting point. So it was a little googly question just to see whether you guys are awake. So you can use either of them, but exclusive prefix sum is going to give you directly the offset. What is the difference between using atomic add versus let's say exclusive prefix sum? So as we said, I can use atomic add also. Right? We have discussed this. I can do atomic add. There is a counter. That counter is going to be incremented by n elements of ID, and that will give me an offset where I can go and insert the elements. Prefix sum is also going to give me the same information, but there is a difference. What is that? One is,
So
of
the
course,
order will be different.
yes. So that is very important. In atomic add, there is no guarantee that thread 0 is the first one to insert elements at the start of the array. Whereas in prefix sum, you are going to get that guarantee, right? Because you are computing it from left to right. Thread 0 is always going to be the first one to add, then followed by thread 1, then thread 2, and so on. So that is, if that is your requirement, prefix sum is the one to go ahead with. In general, the worklist based algorithms are kind of flexible towards the order of elements. So therefore, you can put them in any order, but many times the performance changes when you are dealing with the ordering amongst elements. So in such cases, prefix sum might turn out to be a very useful thing to check for. Right? So this is one thing which you should be definitely concerned about. So yeah, so that is what I was referring to. The order of elements is not important, then it doesn't matter. You can use atomics. But if the order of elements is important, then you can use prefix sum. Another way is histogramming. I mean, whatever we did as prefix sum, that is like a cumulative sum, right? So therefore, it can be very useful for creating a histogram of elements, which can be useful for area under the curve, especially the cumulative area under the curve, right? And I don't know if some of you have studied Fenwick tree in some other course. This I didn't know until last year, until some students of last year told me that there is very nice, very similar prefix sum related binary tree, binary index tree, which gets computed, called as Fenwick tree. Has anybody studied this in any course?
Sir, I mean not in a course, but in general, like it's for login update and login computation.
I see. Which part of computer science does it come into play? I mean, is it like in
Sir, like
LARP
it's
or-
just an arbitrary data structure like any other heap.
Oh, I see. Okay, sure. So if you are interested, just you might just want to take a look at it. The code is also available on Wikipedia or maybe at some other place when I had looked at it. It seems to be very interesting. I didn't know about this, came to know from students last year. I thought that if some of you have studied, you might find some correlation with this. All right, so that is about prefix sum. Let's spend some time on global barrier unless you have any questions on prefix sum. Okay, so the global barrier, we have been talking about it since a long time. And the best way, or not the best, the easiest way to do a global barrier is you end the kernel, right? You come back to the CPU, and that is going to make sure that all the threads which are running on the GPU executing the kernel, they are going to finish. And if there is another kernel after that, K1 followed by K2, where K1 is one kernel, K2 is another kernel, there is guaranteed to be a barrier. All the threads of K1 are going to finish before any thread of K2 is going to start. So that is going to give you a global. However, there are times when we would like to store some intermediate results. Let's say I have computed something, right? I want all the threads to meet here, and then I'm going to proceed with the next computation, making use of this auxiliary data that I have computed as part of the first part of the processing. In such cases, coming back to the CPU is going to make sure that this local memory is all gone. Let's say I'm using local memory or shared memory that is not going to be available to K2. And therefore, I might be forced to move that auxiliary data that I have computed in the first part to global memory, store it. Then when K2 gets launched, it reads from this auxiliary data from global memory and continues. So that is one way in which, artificial way in which that can be done. But it would have been nice if I could just do a barrier there, right? Some of the newest CUDA versions do support this global barrier, by the way. I had mentioned some time back that we don't have that support, but that is wrong. Some of the newest, I think 10.x onwards, we do have the support for global barrier in CUDA. But we would like to implement that ourselves, and let's see if we are able to do that. So I'm just going to give you a high-level picture today, but we'll discuss about it in tomorrow's class. So we would like to have barrier across all the GPU threads to maintain the transient data, partial computations. I can also make use of shared memory now if I have the global barrier inside the kernel itself, right? One of the ways in which it can be implemented is using atomics. So how can this be implemented? Any suggestions? Whatever we have discussed in the past. Using atomic increment, sure. So how will you do that, Rahul?
So we can maintain a counting semaphore and like keep on incrementing until a fixed amount.
Right. So we have, let's say that there is a counter which starts from 0, and we have number of threads running on the GPU. We go on incrementing the counter, right? Every thread performs an atomic increment, and it is going to get the old value of that, right? So one thread is going to get 0, another thread will get 1, and so on. The last thread is going to get to see the value number of threads minus 1, right? So it is going to increment it to number of threads, and the return value is going to be number of threads minus 1. As soon as that thread sees the value, that is an indication that all the threads have finished executing that global barrier. Okay? So how will other threads know? That particular thread will know that, okay, I have seen n minus 1 as the value, but how will other threads know? The other threads have to keep polling that particular counter. So once they do an atomic increment, while that counter not equal to n, not n minus 1, I am just going to loop around. Right? So I'm just going to go do a polling loop, and that is going to give me the implementation of a global barrier, right? So that is across all the threads. So this is very nice. It is going to work out mostly in practice. I'll tell you there is some caveat because of which it may not work. But can you do better? And that we are going to study later. Let's take Sanket's question. Can calling another kernel will do global barrier? Yes. If I have K1 and then followed by K2, then there is a barrier in between the two. Any other concerns, questions here? All right. So we'll stop here and we'll meet tomorrow. See you.
Sir?